Hi, this is video number 2 in my new chord symbol set of videos. I made these videos simply to show the path that I took to get to my new chord symbol and my new chord notation system. I did a lot of studying, many years, read a lot of books. I showed you those books in my previous videos. And I realized for the chord thing, the chord symbol, that I should start with the very basics, the very foundation of music notation, and that, of course, would be the staff. This is called a staff, or sometimes it's called a stave, but either way, it's okay. You can call either one. This is the staff. Now, when you look at the staff, you say, well, what does it tell us? Well, not much at all. You have 5 lines, 4 spaces between those lines, and then you have a space below and space above. So as we'll see when I get to my video on intervals, we'll see that these are called staff degrees: space, line, space, line, space, line, etc. And those are critical. Those are one of the most beautiful things, tools for chord building. They're called staff degrees. But we'll hold that thought for a moment, because that'll be in another video. Now you say, well, you have this staff, and I have a piano keyboard or an accordion keyboard. And what does this staff tell us? What useful information can it give to show which notes correlate with which keys? And you can see clearly, nothing. There's nothing there. All right? It's useless. So what do? Well, we place on that staff a clef. Now here's the old traditional G clef that you're probably familiar with. And here's my new C clef. This is my C5 clef. And now that we have these clefs, all right, now we have a benchmark. We have a reference point. We have a reference point assigned from which values and qualities can be determined. All right? Now, once we have that, we can write notes on that staff. Let's say you're using your old G clef, your traditional clef. You see you can write an F4 or an F5. And over here using my clef, this is a C5 clef, so you know that that 5 indicates clearly that in that space, that's a C5, and down here is a G4. These clefs both do the same job, serve the same purpose, they just look different. And in my stradella-bass videos, I think it's 15A and 15B, I talk about my clef system that I invented. You can study that if you want to. But basically now, you have a way to place notes on the staff, and you'll know exactly what pitch those notes sound at. You'll know exactly what pitch the tones will be sounded. And that's a good thing. Now, some people, when they're beginners, like little children learning music, or beginners of any age, they use what might be called a memory system. It's called a mnemonic system. It's a little mental trick. For example, with either one of these clefs, the new one or the old one, you could use the word face to help you remember which notes fall in these spaces, F-A-C-E, or you could use these letters for the lines, for the notes that fall in the lines. Every good boy deserves fudge, or every good boy detonates fireworks, or every good boy dissects frogs, whatever you want to call it. All right, so now you can place notes on that staff, and you can know what those notes are. Correct? Well, sort of. When you place notes on this staff with almost any clef, the problem thus far is you can only denote which natural keys of the keyboard the note represents. In other words, you see here, these notes, this is the G clef, the old traditional clef. It shows you that this key correlates with this note, and this key with this note, and these white keys are what we call the natural notes. That's a historical thing. They just call it natural notes. But you see, even with your clef, and even if your staff nice and neat, you still can't designate you can't designate these black keys, which are the sharps and or flats. All right, so that's a problem. But at least we have our clef, and we know that the natural white keys can be indicated. So that's a very, very basic start. And believe it or not, that's it for this video. I just wanted to show the staff and how we start out at the very beginning with almost nothing, and after several videos we'll get to the point where you get to see my new symbol, and at least you'll know mentally, I mean, even if I have a brain at all, how I got to that point. And I had to start from the very beginning. So in the next video, I want to talk about notes. I'm pretty sure that'll be my next video. And that's it. See you soon, I hope. Good night.